Hello and welcome to the Sensual Being podcast with myself, your host, Jolene Whiting. I have been a pole dance teacher for nearly 20 years. I'm also a yoga instructor, and my favourite pastimes are connecting to my own sensuality, connecting with the world, and connecting with animals as well. In this podcast, you'll find new and inventive ways of how you see yourself, connecting yourself with others, and also how you see and view the world around you. In this episode today, we are going to be looking at inward validation, what it means, and why I feel it's so important as part of your self-care. Hello, you wonderful sensual being. I hope your day is beautiful and sparkly already. I would like to talk to you today, one of my favourite subjects actually, and I feel it's very important. I call it inward validation, and it's about finding your own validation and not relying on it to come from other people. So I find that this is a big portion of self-care. A lot of the time, self-care is labelled as a face mask and a bubble bath. No, I feel self-care is so much deeper than that. That's beautiful as well, don't get me wrong, but there is more self-care that we can be doing, particularly with regards to inward validation. So I got thinking about this a few years ago because during 2020, when we were all in our houses, I remember a lot of people were saying, this is brilliant because I don't need to put my makeup on now. And I'm thinking, like, just because you're not going to the office and you don't need to put your makeup on, I was thinking, why were you putting it on to go to the office? Like, who is dictating that you should be having a face full of makeup to go to the office? If you want that, then do that. But if you're clearly doing it for somebody else, for when you leave the house you have to look a certain way, you're doing it for other people, and that I feel is not a good thing, because I feel in life we should be doing the things that empower us, that we want to do. So that was when my ears pricked up like a little bunny, and I thought, not sure about this. So it weighed on me a bit. And I thought about this a little bit more. And I thought about, for example, particularly the online world, the social media world. If you are somebody who posts online, what compliments are you taking in? So what I mean by this is you can find that you get, oh, you look amazing, you look this, you look that, you look gorgeous, blah, blah, blah. Beautiful comments. It's lovely to share the love. So I'm not saying don't do that. But are you taking in every single one of those comments? Because it's a slippery slope if you are. If you're someone who's like, oh, so many people said they liked it, it's amazing. The most important thing is, do you like it? Whatever it is, do you like it? Because if you let all that in, the day you get some odd comment, we've all had these odd comments, and you read it and you think, I don't really know how to respond to that. It wasn't rude, but I don't understand it. And just online versus real world is so hard for this. And also, let's not forget beautiful trolls. If you get a troll come along and go, oh, you're stupid, and you go, oh, no, that hurts. If you've let in all of the good stuff, you'll let in the trolls as well. And I remember something I heard, years ago. Okay, showing my age now. So I remember the start of Twitter. And I remember early days of Twitter, and I remember Stephen Fry being on there. And I remember he got trolled. And I remember it really affected him. And you think, Stephen Fry, you're amazing. Like, how can you let that one person get to you? But we are wired in a certain way that things like this can go in and they don't mean anything. So whilst it's beautiful that we share the love and we lift each other up, I'm not saying don't do that. But what I'm saying is, on the receiving end, don't be like, oh my gosh, I'm just so amazing because everyone thinks I'm amazing. Be very careful about how much you let into your soul on that. So it's nice to have love and support. But the most important thing is that you are happy with whatever it is that you're putting out there. Yeah. Not just social media, but just out into the world. It's like, for example, before you leave the house, you know, when you look in the mirror, maybe you've dressed up one evening to go out and you're like, well, I look, you know, I've done this, I've done that. Well, I've really made an effort and I really enjoyed it. And I look this, I look that, or whatever. And then you meet up with your friends or your partner and they're like, hey, you're like, yeah, hi. And you're like, don't you notice anything? And they're like, what? And you get all offended because they haven't noticed how much effort you've gone to or the new thing you're wearing. But does that matter? Because what mattered is the fact that you were happy with it. You were happy before you left the house. You were confident about how you looked. If you're really that bothered, set them up for it and say, when I see you later, I really hope you notice my new dress because I've gone to so much effort to make it or buy it or find it or whatever. You can set people up for you, because sometimes if you're like me, I look at people when I meet them and I see them, whether it's been years or minutes since I last saw them, I see their eyes. That's where I go. I see their eyes. I feel that energy. That's what's important to me. I might notice that they're wearing something new, but that isn't what's important to me. The important bit to me is them as a whole. So when you start to tap into this inward validation, get your validation from yourself, because you know what you like. You know what makes you look good. And that's what you need to tap into. So much more than just waiting for somebody else to say it. Also, another thing with regards to posting content, be very careful when you're in a vulnerable state, when you post something. Now, I don't mean like if you're upset, don't post. I'm not saying that, because we all know we're in a vulnerable state and to be careful then anyway. Whether you do or not, it's down to you. But did you know that when you're feeling really good and really happy and really excited, you're vulnerable too? Because you're in a heightened state of emotion, which is part of life. We embrace all the emotions. We have a gift as a human being, sensual being, to actually embrace emotions. But just know to protect yourself, even if you're happy. So an example I can give is like when I've done a show and I've danced and I'm like, I watch it later. I'm like, oh my God, I know I've been dancing for 20 years, but that was me. Oh my God. I won't post it. I will not post it until I have calmed down, because when you are in that state, even though it's a happy state, words, comments are very potent. But obviously, if you get a bad comment, it could really take you down. But opposite, if you get all the good comments, remember what I said earlier, be careful about how much you let in. Yeah. So when you're in a heightened state of emotion, try and veer away from social media. And when your emotions have calmed and you're on more of a balance, put it out there at that point. So I'm not saying don't put it out there, because you're free to do whatever you want. But just be aware of heightened states of emotion, both sort of happy or sad. An interesting thing you can do with social media to go do a little test. If you think, oh, I'm all right, I feel confident, I don't need validation, I'm happy posting stuff. Cool. I would like you to try and do this for me. I would like you, when you post stuff up for a little while, take off your comments, take off your like count, and see how you feel. Or maybe do some stuff and not video it, not take photos, and see how you feel. If you suddenly feel like, oh, well, what's the point of me doing this if I'm not going to put it on social? Oh, there you go. It's interesting, isn't it? I've had people say this before in class when I said, we're not filming this week. And they're like, well, what's the point? And I'm like, why are you here? It's suddenly we can then, but that's good in ways, because sometimes we get answers. We're like, actually, I'm only doing this for so-and-so. I'm only doing it for the gram. I'm only doing it because of this. You can sometimes get an answer and it might not be the one you expected. Or you might suddenly think, well, this is what it feels like just to do it for me, and how empowering that is. So give it a go, see how you feel. And just tap into what comes up for you. maybe journal about it, maybe talk about it on Instagram, maybe get other people involved in doing this too. So I'm going to love and leave you there. So just remember, you are wonderful and amazing exactly as you are. You do not need anybody else, including me, to tell you that. But I just want to make sure we're talking one-on-one right now, that you know that you are already amazing. Okay? And project that out to the world as you are right now. Remember to lead through your life with your heart and to live with intention. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you enjoyed this episode, please do share it with your friends and on social media. If you have the time to rate or review this podcast, I'd be ever so grateful. If you'd like to follow me on Instagram, you can find me at Jolene Sensual Being. The links to my YouTube and to sign up to my mailing list will be in the show notes as well. I look forward to speaking with you again very soon.